The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with the typical mixture of fear and forced diplomacy that had defined interstellar politics for the past 3 centuries. Representatives from dozens of species sat in their designated sections, their various appendages, tentacles, and sensory organs twitching with nervous energy. At the center of the massive crystalline dome, the Zephyrian delegation commanded attention through sheer intimidation. Commander Vexthul stood 12 feet tall, his chitinous exoskeleton gleaming obsidian black under the chamber's artificial suns. His forearms gestured dramatically as he addressed the assembly, each movement calculated to remind everyone present of the Zephyrian Empire's reputation for systematic genocide. Honorable delegates, Vexthul's voice resonated through the chamber's translation matrix. We gather today to discuss the redistribution of territories in the Outer Rim. As you all know, the Zephyrian Empire has successfully cleansed 17 systems of their indigenous populations over the past solar cycle. A collective shudder rippled through the assembly, the Mantari delegates' feathers ruffled in distress. The crystalline silicates dimmed their natural luminescence in what could only be described as grief. The fertile worlds of the Andorian cluster, Vexthul continued, his mandibles clicking with what passed for satisfaction among his species, proved particularly responsive to our purification protocols. 3 billion sentient beings reduced to raw materials for our expansion efforts. Their cities now serve as monuments to Zephyrian efficiency. In the human section, a single figure sat motionless. Ambassador Elena Vasquez appeared almost comically small compared to the towering aliens around her. Her plain gray diplomatic uniform seemed unremarkable against the elaborate ceremonial garb and natural displays of the other species. She sat with her hands folded in her lap, her dark eyes fixed on Vexthul with an expression that could have been mistaken for polite attention. The Kepler colonies resisted for approximately 14 standard hours, Vexthul boasted, his secondary arms spreading wide. Their defensive installations were amusing. We harvested their young for our breeding programs before sterilizing their atmosphere. The screams, I'm told, were quite musical. Several delegates physically recoiled. The empathic Zerathi began weeping through their gill slits. Even the notoriously stoic mechanoid representatives' optical sensors flickered in what could only be interpreted as distress. Elena Vasquez smiled. It was a small smile, barely visible to most of the assembly. But Vexthul, trained in the subtle art of intimidation, noticed immediately. His 4 red eyes focused on the human with sudden, sharp interest. The human delegate seems amused, Vexthul observed, his tone carrying a dangerous edge. Perhaps Ambassador Vasquez would care to share her thoughts on our recent territorial acquisitions? Elena rose from her seat with fluid grace, her movement drawing the attention of every being in the chamber. When she spoke, her voice was calm, measured, and utterly devoid of fear. Thank you, Commander. I was indeed finding your presentation educational. Her smile widened slightly, revealing perfectly white teeth. You mentioned the Andorian cluster. 3 billion beings, you said? Correct, Vexthul replied, puffing himself up with pride. A most satisfying harvest. And the Kepler colonies. How many worlds was that again? 7 garden worlds, all now serving the greater glory of the Zephyrian Empire. Elena nodded thoughtfully, pulling out a small data pad. I see, and you've been conducting these operations for how long now? 3 centuries of uninterrupted expansion, Vexthul declared. No species has dared to challenge our dominion. We are the apex predators of this galaxy. Fascinating. Elena's fingers danced across her data pad. You know, Commander, I've been studying your species' military history. Your tactical doctrine, your fleet compositions, even your biological imperatives. Quite thorough, your people. A murmur of confusion rippled through the assembly. Where was this leading? I'm particularly impressed by your logistical capabilities, Elena continued, still smiling that small, enigmatic smile. Moving entire fleets across vast distances, coordinating simultaneous planetary assaults, managing supply lines across dozens of star systems. It's genuinely impressive work. Vexthul's mandibles clicked uncertainly. This wasn't going as expected. Which is why, Elena said, her voice suddenly carrying an edge of steel. I'm so curious about how you plan to maintain those supply lines now that they no longer exist. The chamber fell silent. I beg your pardon? Vexthul's voice had lost some of its commanding resonance. Elena touched her data pad, and the chamber's main holographic display activated. The three-dimensional map of the galaxy materialized above them, showing trade routes, territorial boundaries, and strategic resources in glowing detail. "Oh, did I not mention?" Elena's smile was now sharp enough to cut diamond. "While you've been so focused on your harvesting operations, humanity has been rather busy with logistics of our own." She touched the pad again. Red indicators began appearing across the map. Dozens, then hundreds of them. "Supply Depot Zeta 7 in the Rigel system," Elena announced conversationally. "Destroyed approximately 6 hours ago. Fuel Depot Gamma 9 near Proxima Centauri. Gone 4 hours ago. The ammunition stockpiles in the Vega system, well, they made quite a spectacular light show 3 hours ago." The red indicators multiplied exponentially across the map. The Zephyrian territories, which had appeared so dominant moments before, now looked like a body bleeding from 1,000 cuts. Vexthal's exoskeleton had paled to a sickly gray. "Impossible. Our sensor networks would have detected—" "Your sensor networks," Elena interrupted gently, "were designed to detect known threat profiles. Ships broadcasting identification codes following established hyperspace lanes, operating within predicted parameters." Her smile became positively radiant. "Humans have never been particularly good at following predictions." She gestured to the map, where the red indicators now formed a pattern that even the most tactically challenged delegate could interpret. Every major Zephyrian supply line had been severed. Every strategic resource depot had been eliminated. The vast empire that had terrorized the galaxy for 3 centuries was now effectively isolated, cut off from the infrastructure that made their rapid expansion possible. "You see, Commander," Elena explained with the patience of a teacher addressing a particularly slow student, "while you were busy slaughtering civilians and terrorizing delegates, humanity was studying, learning. We mapped every single one of your supply routes, identified every critical resource node, and positioned assets accordingly." The silence in the chamber was absolute. "The beautiful thing about being underestimated," Elena continued, "is that no one bothers to watch what you're actually doing. You were so focused on our small military, our limited territory, our apparent insignificance, that you never noticed we were building something else entirely." She touched the datapad one final time. New indicators appeared on the map, blue ones this time surrounding every Zephyrian-held system like a net of stars. "Humanity's first rule of warfare, Commander. Logistics win wars. Your fleets can't fight without fuel. Your soldiers can't conquer without supplies. Your empire can't expand without infrastructure." Elena's smile was now bright enough to power a small star, and as of approximately 30 minutes ago, you have none of those things. Vexthal staggered backward, his forearms clutching at his thorax as if he were having difficulty breathing. "This is impossible," he wheezed. "We are the apex predators." You are prey," Elena said simply. "You just never realized it until now." She turned to address the wider assembly, her voice carrying easily through the stunned silence. "The Zephyrian Empire's reign of terror is over. Their fleets are stranded, their armies are cut off, and their capacity for expansion has been permanently disabled. As for the occupied worlds—" She paused, her expression softening with genuine compassion. "Humanitarian relief operations are already underway. The survivors will be free within the week." The chamber erupted in chaos, some delegates cheering, others shouting questions, still others simply sitting in stunned disbelief. Through it all, Elena Vasquez stood calmly at her station, that small, devastating smile never leaving her face. Commander Vexthal, the terror of 17 worlds, collapsed into his seat like a broken puppet. Later, historians would mark this moment as the day the galaxy learned a fundamental truth about humanity. They didn't just fight wars, they ended them. Permanently, efficiently, and always. Always with that same small smile that promised the universe was about to change.